The best lack all conviction, and the worst are filled with passionate intensity. I get the information from CFAM. It's a pro-life and pro-family group at the United Nations. And boy, that's how I feel. Like, look at the intensity of evil. And they seem so focused. And unfortunately, the forces of good, they don't seem so focused. I keep waiting for Superman to come in, or, you know, some Marvel Comics heroes, but that's not happening. Instead, I think we can be able to say, we need to look and to say, what do you want? Probably the hardest thing that I have to do when I work with people is to say, what do you want? Tell me what you want. You know, and John's going to look at me saying, I know what the next line is. But it's true, you know, the great philosophers of age, the Spice Girls, say, tell me what you want, what you really, really want. Okay? Isn't it true? It's hard to get people to do that. In this Congress, what do you want? What do you want to build? If we wish to build that culture of life, if we wish to be able to participate in a true new dawn, then we need to say, this is what I want. To that end, I believe it's essential that we have a clear and a comprehensive, a consistent and a collaborative catechesis. We need to be able to have a clear catechesis because so many things are not clear. If our vocabulary is some mingy little vocabulary that nobody understands, it's no good. Just because I'm at ease with it doesn't mean anything. The fact that it doesn't work outside of my own immediate classroom or my own immediate circle says something. It means that clarity has been sacrificed for ease. And I don't believe that that is any good at all. But it's also got to be comprehensive. One cannot be an expert in everything. That's true. You can't. However, as people who wish to build a culture of life, we need to be able to take that wider view, that range that I talked about at the very beginning of this hour. That range means, can I be able to start to delineate at least those sectors which will build up a culture of life? Comprehensive means that we need to work at being able to bring people out of their own little security zones to say, well, you can do this. Maybe you are called to do this in a broader way. Yes, you've never stood on a sidewalk with a sign before, but the first time you do it, it doesn't kill you. And I remember dragging people to surround the McMaster Chadok Hospital. And we were going to have a couple hundred people to surround this big hospital that was doing abortions at the time. This is many, many years ago. And we didn't have enough. It was pretty obvious we weren't going to have enough. We had about 40 people. That's a big hospital, McMaster Chadok. A lot bigger now than it was then, but it was a big hospital. So we thought desperately, and we went out and got a whole bunch of candles. And we put them in styrofoam cups. Thank heavens it was in the depths of a good Canadian winter. And as we went around, we put candles in the snow all the way around the hospital. And I remember we had some media people there, and they said, what are you doing? I said, we're forming a circle of light and life and love around this hospital. Deeds that are done in darkness will now have to be done in light. And I thought, I wonder if they're going to fall for that. And they did. And it looked good in the newspaper. It was an act born partially of desperation, but it was also an idea of comprehensiveness. Okay, you can't do everything, but it's remarkable what one can do to be able to tap into a broader idea. I say this as well within the pro-life movement. Within the pro-life movement, you can't be involved in everything, but I can sign an awful lot of petitions. And as a priest, believe me, if you pop in even for a short time at a protest or a this or that, it shows. I know it. I've remembered Bishop Pierce Lacey because he has been one of the most consistent pro-life witnesses I've ever seen. For 30 plus years that I've been involved in the movement. He's been out rain or shine or whatever. Sometimes when it could only be 10 minutes at something, he walked in, he had 10 minutes, he said, somebody take a picture. There's a guy who knows the value of publicity. Somebody take a picture. And that's why I commend Archbishop Collins tremendously for that. Remember Bishop Sherlock years ago when we were protesting the first embryonic cell research being done at the University Hospital in London, same way. He said, take a picture, guys, let's go. And looking at that, it meant that he could see the value in a comprehensive way of looking at building this culture of life. It's got to be, pick that up. It's got to be videotaped. It's got to be consistent. To be consistent means it's got to be planned. One of the biggest problems we have in the church today is homilies don't make sense. You know why homilies don't make sense? Is because if you taught arithmetic that way, people would think you were an idiot. Isn't that true? One day you teach long division, another day you're teaching subtraction, the next day you're back to addition, and then you try some calculus and algebra thrown in the next Sunday. Okay? It isn't consistent. It's not how you teach anything. Every one of you guys is a teacher. How are you going to be able to formulate a consistent catechesis? One of the main things that Priests for Life USA and Priests for Life Canada is trying to do is to be able to bring about consistency. Consistency about how to be able to bring in new ways, in new and engaging ways, the teachings of the church in these areas. But, and here homiletics professors are going to shoot me, aim for consistency. Not boredom, but consistency. And it's got to be collaborative. It's not for nothing that I talked about, read that excerpt about unity. It may not be the case that we live in community, though I'm going to tell you guys, I was going to join the Redemptorists, and then I was an associate with the Redemptorists for a year, and I decided not to because I really wasn't a community guy. This guy said, you know what, Tom, I don't think you're meant to live in community. And I said, you know, Chris, you're right. Well, then I went to a seminary and lived with 100 guys. Then I went to Rome and lived with 25 guys. Then I've lived in a seminary for 12 years with 100 guys. And now I'm in Lindsay, and it looks like I'm going to have 4 other priests. That I'm going to run a geriatric ward, but I'm going to have 4 other priests in my parish. And ironic, isn't it? Who says God doesn't have a sense of humor? But anyway, the collaboration and the collaborative catechesis is such that people can be able to say, hey, it isn't just going to be Father Jan, you know, preaching on this, and he's some wacko. It's going to be Father John, and it's going to be, you know, Naaman, and it's going to be Justin. All of a sudden, there's a consistent voice across the church. And this is what John Paul II, Paul VI, and Benedict have all called for. This idea of a collaboration in the presbyterate, a collaboration in terms of what the teaching can actually be. And to see it as a teaching. I just hadn't thought when I looked at a review copy, that's what moral theologians get to do. Get ready for it, Kevin. I looked at a review copy of the encyclical and was asked to comment on it a few months before it came out. And I thought to myself, a gospel? Gee, isn't that pretentious, calling it the gospel of life? And then I realized it is. It's a good news. It's a good news. And it's a news that many people are not hearing. That catechesis is how we are able to translate that good news into practical ways so that people can be able to hear it, accept it, live it out, and proclaim it. This then is what we're really called to be able to do. What I hope we can be able to achieve in these 4 days is to assist you so that the prophet Malachi, in his words, was right when he said, wisdom is to be found on the lips of priests. And it's our prayer that we can assist you in that growth and in that acquiring of wisdom. Thank you.